All right, terrific. Thank you so much for joining us at this workshop, the workshop for how to build a study plan. You're off to a terrific start by being here, and doing this means you're off to a terrific start for your semester. So I just want to commend you for joining us today. Before I begin, I just want to let you know that my colleague Chad Muse is in the chat. So at any point in time, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask a question. If you don't want it to be a public question, you can just send him a private message if you want. Okay. Other than that, the chat is fully open for questions. On top of that, if you do have a question at some point in time, feel free to unmute yourself or to put up a hand, and I'll get to you. All right. Okay. So once again, as I mentioned, this is the How to Build a Study Plan workshop. I am from the Center for Academic Excellence. I'll introduce myself officially. My name is Francella Brown. I'm the Academic Advising and Career Specialist here in the CAE. If you want some information on what kind of service it is that I provide, on the screen here, we've got some different ways to get in contact with me. You can either email advising@tyndale.ca and find out what exactly that means, academic advising. You can email career services for anything related to job searches, resumes, interview skills, etc. And if you want to book an appointment with me, you can go to the URL here, scribe.tyndale.ca. All registered students have access to this booking site, and it's pretty easy to use. It's pretty user friendly. And then if you want to go to our website again, just to find out more information on what an academic advisor does, what a career specialist does, then I've got the sites, the website URLs there on the screen, and then you can also, if you want, use the QR code. So at any point in time, you want that information, I can put it in the chat for you as well. All right. So today, for how to build a study plan, I just want to tell you what our goal is for today. We're going to be on here for 45 minutes. Our workshop ends at 12:30. We're going to talk, not just jump right into the study plan. We're going to talk about some things that students are going to go through that you'll need to be able to, that you're going to experience as a student, and how to adjust to the experiences of being a student. So we're going to talk about transition, which is something that everyone is going through when you come into undergraduate studies or graduate studies. We're going to talk about rhythm in terms of the rhythm of the semester and how we can move into that rhythm of the semester to make it work for us, rather feel like we are kind of like salmon swimming upstream and going against a current. We're going to talk about routine, building a routine and the importance of it. And of course, one of those things is to put together a study plan. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate for you how to build a study schedule. What I recommend is that you just watch me do that. I'm just going to give you a brief kind of tutorial on how to do that. And then I'm going to show you how to upload our academic calendar, which is a Word document on our website. And I'll show you where to go to get that. And then you're going to start to work on your own study plan. You're going to implement kind of the building blocks, the main core of it, follow along, follow what it is that I've demonstrated prior to, ask any questions that you have along the way. And you're not going to finish it completely, but I'm just going to give you the information that you need in order to be able to carry on with that after our workshop. And so I wanted to start off with a statement that I think is very important for us as students to know, that it is better to be an efficient and well rested and intentional student than it is to be a burnt out hard worker. And the reason why I wanted to start off with this is because if we're going to put together a study plan, we also have to adjust our minds on how it is that we're going to follow it and how it is that we're going to approach the rest of our academic career. Um, some of us just may have, over time, over our lives, developed kind of a misconception that when we are incredibly busy, overwhelmed, and stressed, it means that we're working hard and we're accomplishing what it is that we need to do. And it doesn't mean that we're not working hard, but it might mean that we're not working smart. And some of the reasons why we do this could just be because we never really learned how to not do that. We never really learned how to pace ourselves and plan. It could be because of bad habits that we have, like procrastination, which causes us to really stress later on. But these are things that we can unlearn. And being a well-rested and intentional student is actually a skill that we can cultivate and continue to do as we go along in our career, academic career, and beyond that as well. So we want to keep that in mind, and this is something that we want to start practicing doing. On here, I have a on my screen a picture of some people getting ready to do a race, and they can either be doing a sprint or they can be doing um, a marathon. We don't really know how it is that they're approaching this race, but if you put yourself into that picture, you can decide what kind of race you want to run when it comes to your academics. Do you want it to be a sprint where all you're thinking about is the end goal? You're thinking about the finish line, and you're really just using your all of your energy and exhausting yourself to get there? Or do we want to approach our academic studies as if we are running a marathon? We're concerned with the goal. We're always thinking about those goals, but we're also concerned with where we are in the race at that time. And so we're thinking about pacing ourselves. We're thinking about, am I doing too much and I'm going to exhaust myself by the time I get to the end of the semester? Am I not doing enough? And do I need to step it up? And do I need to step up how much reading I'm doing as I see the results of my assignments and my grades and whatnot throughout the semester? But the thing about marathon runners is they're continuously evaluating and adjusting as they run because their intention is to last longer and to spread out their energy in order for them to meet their goals. So these are the kind of things we want to think about when we're pacing ourselves, when we want to care for ourselves and set the goals that we want to set. Okay. So the first three things that we are going to talk about is we're going to talk about some of the things that you as students are going through. You're transitioning into your studies from somewhere else. There's a rhythm, like I had mentioned, and building a routine. So let's talk first about when it comes to transition. Whether you have been out of school for a while, and some people have, whether you are coming in from undergrad, from undergrad into graduate studies, when you're coming from high school to undergrad studies, things are different. So you're adjusting to your academics. There's a different kind of course schedule. The assignments and the professors, they're quite varied. You're adjusting to the flow of your semester. You're adjusting to the Tyndale community as well. You're around a bunch of different people who are there to support you, but there is an adjustment there. And then, of course, you're probably going to have to adjust in your personal life as well when it comes to taking care of family responsibilities and things like self-care and what that kind of thing looks like. So just respect that you are in a transition, and that takes time to get into a rhythm. Okay. And speaking of the rhythm, we do want to talk about what the semester typically looks like. In the first 1 to 3 weeks is your quiet period kind of thing. So you're doing the right thing and wanting to put together a schedule. You're looking at your syllabi and you're trying to plan out when my assignments are due. Therefore, when should I start my assignments? How should I do my readings? What kind of study strategies I have? So this is the time to do that. Small assignments start being typically due about week 4 to 5. Your midterm report comes about weeks 6 to 7. Midterm report is something that comes from our office, but your midterm test or your midterm papers, we have reading week, Thanksgiving at that time. So we want to utilize that time well, take it as rest, but also make sure that we can use it to get ahead. There's a bit of a breather around weeks 8 and 9. And that time is to help you study and prepare for your bigger assignments towards the end of the semester. And then we go into Christmas. So we want to work with that rhythm and plan out what it is that we're doing with how it is that the semester flows. Okay. So a critical skill for success, we want you essentially to be kind to yourself as a student. We know that's very difficult because you don't study in a vacuum. You have so many other things that are going on. Um, but we want to give you permission if you need it to give yourself time, give yourself space to think and process what it is that you're doing. These are self-care things. Give yourself permission to not be perfect. Okay. To not work 24/7, incorporate breaks in your studying, um, and take time to ground yourself and strategize. And again, that's why I want to commend you for being here because that's exactly what you're doing today. And it just bears repeating. It is better to be an efficient, well rested, and intentional student than it is to be a burnt out hard worker. So here's what we're going to do now. Now I'm going to go into doing a tutorial, putting together a little bit of a an academic plan. I would like for you ideally to watch me. I'm going to talk through it and talk what my thought process is. I'm not going to do the whole thing as like the picture that you see, but the goal is for you to get to the point where you have an entire academic study plan. Just know that these plans are like, say, for instance, the week 1 to 3, this is what it looks like. By maybe weeks 6 and 7, you might have to do some adjusting to this. So this is not set in stone. By towards the end of the semester, some things might change. We're going to put in study times. Your study times may need to be a little bit longer. So we're going to make sure that we leave wiggle room so that you can adjust to what it is that your assignments are requiring of you, what it is that your professors are requiring of you. And just keep this in mind, and I'll bring up this screen a little bit later on. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with plotting the what I call non-negotiables. So the things that you absolutely have to do. These are the responsibilities that you have to do to kind of set, right? So sleep, very, very important. We want to make sure that cognitively we are alert and that we are functioning well to be able to do our schoolwork and all other things. Class times, you have to make it to class. So this should be a non-negotiable unless it's under other kinds of circumstances where you can't make it, but this is something you want to regularly do. Commuting time. So if you are not, say, for instance, living on campus and you have to commute to and from, this is realistic time that's being taken up that you're not doing anything other than commuting. So we want to make sure we plot that. And then if you have a commitment to a Sabbath day of rest, whatever that looks like, a Friday evening to a Saturday, an entire Saturday, a Sunday, even if it's just half a day, we just recommend that there is a time for you to make sure you stay, take your time with God, take care of your spirituality. This is a time for reflection. However it is that you use that, if this is something that's important to you, how about we not sacrifice that as much as possible? If you are working, if you are volunteering, this is something else that you are going to have to do because you have to show up for that. And then there is going to be those still essential things, but it's flexible, as in we can move it around our schedule. So things like meals, study sessions, working out, your physical well-being, family and socializing, and self-care, daily self-care. We want to make sure that we are focusing on those things, but if we have to move them around to accommodate for the hardcore non-negotiables, we can do that. Okay, so I'll bring this up a little bit later on. What I want to do now um, is bring up my study plans. So give me 1 second. I want to see if I'm still sharing my screen, and I'm going to bring up that study plan, and we're going to start to build on it right now. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like. Again, I'll show you where to go to download this off of our website right after I do this. Let me do a quick demonstration of how it is that you're going to do this. So first and foremost, this is your study plan. So own it, put your name there. We're going to do this for fall. It's going to look different each semester. It's going to look different maybe a couple of months from now. But right now we're going to focus on fall, and that's our year 2025. I mentioned that some of the first things that I want to plot in are things that are very important and non-negotiables. Sleep, you have to sleep. So let's just plan Monday to Friday for now. We're not going to plan Saturday and Sunday. because you know you're not going to have classes on that day. And let's just put in realistically what your sleep schedule is. Um, Realistically for me, it's probably 11 p.m. And what we're going to do is we're going to color code things so that you know exactly what each thing means. Sleep for me is kind of relaxing and soothing, so I'm going to color that in as blue, put in the fill here, and then put that in as blue. So 12 a.m. And then your study plan at the top starts again at 5. And realistically speaking, what are your wake up days? Your wake up days aren't always going to be the same. Okay. So right now, let's just plan for a Monday. On a Monday, say for instance, you wake up at 7:30. So let me put that in as the same time again. So this is where we want to put in our sleep and make sure that we don't negotiate that. Next, I'm going to put in my class times. Okay. So bear with me here. I'm going to put in, say for instance, one of my classes is on a Monday and it's from 8:15 to 9:35. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put that up to 10. I'm going to give that a color on its own, and I'm going to call that class 1. All right. I have another class on Monday from 6:45 to 9:30. So I'm going to enter that in here as well. And that's a longer day. Okay. So 9:30. I'm going to give that a different color. And I'm going to call this class 2. So those are the only 2 classes that I have on Mondays. I always want to zoom out and just get a gander on looking at those times filling up. All right. Um, and so now in order to get to class, well, let's finish up our non-negotiables. So commuting times. Say for class 1, I am on campus that day. Okay. So that means in person. And now I have to be realistic. Is a half an hour enough for me to leave my house and to get to class? Uh, Maybe, but I haven't actually done anything other than sleep at this point in time. So I might have to get up a little bit earlier on this day, right? Because after you sleep, you get up, you get ready, you make breakfast, and you're kind of doing what it is that you need to do around the house before you leave. So I might have to change this color and turn that into green and call this get ready and breakfast. Okay. We're being very realistic about our time. If I feel that I can make it to class within 30 minutes, then I'm going to call this my commuting time. Now, if that is not realistic by the time you get there, you're going to tell me, then what you might have to do is adjust your breakfast time and your wake up time. Commuting from door to door, it's a 30-minute drive, but you still need time to get out of the parking lot, get to your class, get out of your house and get into your car. So again, be realistic about these things as you're plotting them out. Okay. We did talk about Sabbath day of rest. That's another non-negotiable. So if that is a Sunday for you, let's go ahead and block that out completely. So that is the day of no classes, no studying, and however it is that you are with your Sabbath or your rest day, you can use that as you work, as you need. Um, if you have a job or if you volunteer, again, places that are expecting you to show up at a certain time, we want to plot that in as well. Say, for instance, I worked Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and my job is on Mondays, I work from 11 a.m. until, say, 4 p.m. I'm going to give that its own color and make them as different as possible. And here's work. If you're not working on campus, then you're going to need to commute from class to work. Okay. So this is most likely going to be your commute time and your setup time at your job. So again, I'm going to put that in yellow because yellow represents commuting. some students have the option to give their availability to their employer, and so that it can work around what their classes are. So if you ever find, if that is an option for you, and you find that 1 hour is not enough time for you to leave class, get in the car, drive to work, then you might have to, say, for instance, ask for a slightly different work schedule. Things like that can help and happen throughout the semester. Things like that can happen from year to year as well. So again, you're going to see these schedules change and adjust a little bit. So if we really take a look at Monday and be very realistic about what this is, we've got between 4 and say 6 o'clock of open time, and then we've got some time between here and the time that we get home. We haven't really even scheduled in eating yet, other than breakfast. So if you might be having lunch at work, then that's kind of easy because you'll probably have a designated lunchtime. Um, you're going to be, having dinner at some point in time. If this class is synchronous, then you're going to probably be working from home. You might be scheduling in your dinner time at about here, dining time, color we haven't eaten, dinner. And we're going to leave the rest open. Now, every day is not going to look the same. So if you feel, first of all, here's that wiggle room in here, perhaps for some self-care, relaxing at the end of the day. You might want to use some of this time, like say, for instance, here to just review what it is that you did in your class, maybe just a half an hour, finish up your notes. But this might also be a day because it's so full where you actually don't do any studying. You actually don't do a lot. Um, and the reason being is because you're going to have quite a bit of space in other days. And so if you feel that this is not a study day at all, I don't have a lot of time, that's okay. You can put in your study times at other times. Some suggestions for you, you know, we'd recommend that you do anywhere from 1.5 to 3 hours of reading outside of class time. So you can schedule in, say, for instance, reading time here, if you have no class and you're not working, this can be a reading session or a study session here. And this should probably be for a class that's going to be either on a Wednesday or Thursday. It's best to do your readings one day at least before class. You kind of do your pre-readings. You might be skimming a little, but you're priming your brain so that when you go to class and your professor starts talking about the subject, A, you're able to participate because there are participation marks, and B, you're going to perk up when you hear a term or an explanation or something like that of something that you read the day before. And then when your professor starts picking out very specific things from the chapters that you read, then you can write down in your notes that these clearly are the things that are important to focus on because out of that chapter, this is what my professor spoke about in class. And now you know what to study in more depth. In preparation for papers and for tests. So you want to develop a reading strategy as well. So this is pretty much kind of how it is that you want to put together your academic plan. You don't want to schedule every single minute. If every single minute of your day is colored in, you might want to consider to put to make some flexibilities in there so that you're not constantly doing things. What if you want to go for a walk? What if you want to relax a little bit? What if you want to scroll on your phone a little bit? And so that's where the self-care comes in. Okay. So don't plan out every single minute of every single day. Um, but we do want to get a good visual of how the day looks. So now I want you to go ahead and try this on your own. What I'm going to do is bring back up the link on where it is that you can find the study plan to downloads. Just give me 1 second here. And here's the URL. Don't think I am in um, presentation mode. Here I am now in presentation mode, right, Chad? Can you verify for me? Yep. Okay. So go ahead and go to our Tyndale website. Here's the URL. It's www.tyndale.ca/academic-advising/advising resources. And when you get to that page under tip sheet, you'll see download the academic plan for scheduling. And you can download that. It's a Microsoft Word. I'd also like to see if I can just put that link in the chat for you. Let me see if that's something that I can do as well.
Already did that, Fran.
Oh, you did? Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks, Chad. That's great. All right. So if at any point in time to our participants here online, if you have any issues with the document, feel free to message in the chat. Chad or myself will be able to help you out with that. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is leave up these non-negotiables that we spoke about so that you know what you want to plot first and then what we want to add in later on. You'll probably most likely just get through the non-negotiables at this point in time. We've got uh, we're going until, what time is our session finishing at? We've got some time to go through that. Okay. So, what I'll probably do now is since it's those who are in attendance who are going to be working on this, for those who are going to be watching the recording, so that you're not just kind of staring at my face or staring at the screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up for now. But I do want to leave you with a couple of things. Here is a link to something that might help you out. You might be wondering, well, when I put in my study sessions, um, what do I do with those study sessions? And so we do have a really good resource on our CAE Talks YouTube channel. There's a video, by one of our previous academic advisors. And it's called reverse staging method. He takes you through how to do that. It's assignment planning, how to start early and pace yourself. Here's an example of what that would look like. So if you want to go to this link, here it is on your screen, and go ahead and watch that really helpful resource there. Um, and then figure out how it is that you can uh, work backwards from whatever your due date is to when you should actually start your paper. And again, that's something that's going to be able to help you to pace yourself. And I just want to one more time share my contact information in case you want to book an appointment with me or go to our website and see a little bit more of what it is that our offices in the Center for Academic Excellence can help you out with. Okay. So, wishing you all the best for the semester. You're off to a great start in putting together a study schedule. And if you need our help, please contact us at the CAE. Okay.